Hop on with us as we dive into the latest topics, share some laughs, and bring you insightful conversations in and around the realm of ag. From down-home wisdom to cutting-edge tech, we've got what you need to fuel your curiosity. So tune in, relax, and let's kick back. On the Tailgate, presented by Wade Incorporated.
All right, welcome back, everybody. On the Tailgate, I'm your host, Cade Moody. You got Gaston Line in the co-host spot, and, of course, Riggs Ware over there as producer. And we got a fun episode today with our Director of IT, Mike Hanson. But we're not going to talk about IT, Mike. We're going to talk about...
That's boring.
We're going to talk about the hobby that you have that is very interesting.
It is.
So Mike is a hot air balloon pilot and has multiple balloons, does rides, races, events. Tell us a little bit about Delta Breeze, and let's just talk about how in the world one gets into ballooning.
Well, that's a loaded question there. How you get into ballooning, right? So my first hot air balloon ride was with a guy here in Greenwood, Johnny Jennings. I was 16 years old, and I thought, man, I need one of these balloons. But, you know, at 16, you got to do life, school.
Yeah, most people are learning how to drive a car, not necessarily a balloon.
So I had a love of aviation at an early age. So I always wanted a balloon, and once I got to a stage of my life to have one, then I purchased my first one was a used balloon, and I had 14 since then. Currently, I have 6.
Holy smokes!
You've had 14 balloons?
Yeah, 14.
Did you name the first one?
Well, you name all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you list all 14 names.
I think I have a problem. I need to see some kind of AA buying balloons.
The Ballooners Anonymous?
Yeah, I need a balloon. Yeah.
What was the name of the first balloon?
Delta Breeze.
Really?
So that's what the
Delta
company...
Breeze, and the company named Delta Breeze, and after the very first balloon, Delta Breeze.
Was it the color of the one on your shirt?
Yeah, kind of. All balloons kind of got the same kind of color pattern.
I've always been intrigued by the designs that you go with. And where does that stem from? You buying one like that's... Are you ever designing your own?
Well, this last balloon I got it named Delta Bell, the one that's on my shirt here. I designed it, right?
Okay.
I designed all the colors and the patterns, and a company in the Czech Republic called Kubicek created a balloon and built it, then put it on the boat and shipped it over to me.
Wow.
I can't imagine there's a lot of companies out there that build custom balloons. Is that why you had to go to the Czech Republic?
No, I went to Czech Republic because of the price.
Oh.
Before the tariffs.
Pre-tariff.
Pre-tariffs era. But, yeah, they had a good price on the balloons, and I was able to luckily build one what I wanted. And this was actually the third balloon that I designed and built.
So you said you started flying at 16, or you flew the first time at 16.
First time at 16.
When did you make your first purchase? How long was it after?
When I was 22.
Wow, pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you fell in love with it.
Fell in love with aviation altogether, right?
Yeah.
Any type of aviation.
Well, I love aviation, but I've never thought about balloons. I mean, I love watching them,
But
but
balloons are the oldest form of flight.
Yeah.
It was created by the McGuffey brothers back in 1800.
Oh, here we go. History lesson.
yeah, give us some history there.
Yeah. So the brothers had a paper company, and they go out and back and burn leftovers after the end of the day and notice that parts of the paper will fly up in the smoke. So they thought, that's magical smoke.
Magical smoke.
Yeah. So we built a bag big enough to carry or hold the smoke, maybe to fly. So that's the first balloon was made out of paper and fabric and some glue they had, and sure enough, they took it in the back and they filled it full of this magical smoke and let it go, and it took off. And from then on, they started carrying animals and then finally people. Mm-hmm. And they went to the king back then, King Louis XIV, and asked, hey, we want to build a balloon big enough to fly somebody. Can you fund us? He said, yes, that'd be fine. I'll give you the money to do it. He said, well, we're going to get some condemned criminals, to try it out. in case somebody dies on his first flight. And the king said, no, you need some dignitaries. And they picked a couple, and sure enough, it flew, and everybody lived.
Oh, well, I was real uncertain how that story
I
was going
was
to end.
too. I was too. Wow.
Back then, you'd have to worry about power lines and towers, so it's just landowners you had to worry about.
Well, why don't you tell us what it takes to be a commercial hot air balloon pilot?
You go through the same stages you would for airplane, right? It's for a balloon. It's 2 stages: private and commercial. And you take a written test that you have to have a ground school and study for. Then you take a check ride with DPE to get your license, to get your certificate. So I carry a commercial certificate to be able to do what I do.
So you got your private first, obviously, but how quickly after did you get your commercial?
Right after.
Right after.
I was ready to go.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way to do it too.
And back then it was no waiting period because we're talking 35 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
What does the average higher end balloon? What do they run?
Pre-tariffs.
Well, not yours. Just an average for the viewers that are listening. When people say balloons,
it's like anything, right? You can buy a Volkswagen or you buy a Cadillac.
Correct.
So right. So the latest balloon I got is 120,000 cubic foot. So you imagine 120,000 basketballs will fit inside of it, and the basket is big enough to carry me and 4 people.
wow.
And the burners creates together about 30 million BTUs. So that balloon to get made and shipped to me altogether is $60K.
Mm-hmm. And that's basket and all?
It's basket on.
Basket
That's
all.
everything ready to fly.
Ready to fly.
You were telling me about the baskets. It's pretty interesting as well, like hand woven.
And all of it was wicker. They tried many materials since, well, the very first balloon had a wicker basket, and they tried different materials after that. But the wicker is what stays flexible enough if you have a hard landing.
Yeah.
Which is, and I guess that's kind of what I was thinking the whole time you were talking is those things take a little bit of even if you do it right, you're going to hit the ground.
But sooner or later, you're going to have a high wind landing, right?
Right.
And that's for a balloon that's anything over 8 knots. We don't have wind, we don't have wheels, so when we hit the ground, we're going to drag.
Yeah.
Because the faster the wind blowing, the further you're going to drag. And a balloon will sail kind of like a sailboat. And I think the furthest I've drug was 150 yards, 200 yards.
So you got to have a good bit of area planned out just in case that happens.
Right, you got to be thinking ahead of yourself. So flying, you always at least 40 to 60 seconds ahead of yourself. Because whatever you do takes a while for the balloon to react.
It's very slow, but so you got to have.
You got to be planning ahead.
Mm-hmm. And it depends on the size of the balloon. Because my 120 is slower in reaction than my racing balloon. My racing balloon is shaped like an egg, so it goes up and down. It's no faster through the wind, because you're only going the fastest wind is blowing. It's just faster up and down.
I'll tell you, it's actually impressive thinking ahead, like he's talking about there. I was chasing him one day last couple of weeks, and I think you were doing a training flight right at that time. Well, I'm thinking they're about to land, and I think they were planning to. And he was probably teaching. You said touch and go.
We're doing touch and go, right? Like you do touch and go.
Yeah.
With your planes, right?
Well, they're heading towards this pivot, and Katie's in the car, Gat, and we're watching. And I'm like, he doesn't have enough room to lay over right there before he hits the pivot. Well, they start hitting the fire, and sure enough, that thing picks up just perfectly. Right. It's as far as from my view. I don't know what it looked like to y'all.
It looked the same.
It was right there, buddy.
It was a perfect flight.
And he picked up right over it, and then they just cleared it barely, and they came right back down on the other side. It was pretty impressive.
Well, we do training, and that's what I was doing to the guy in the basket with me. Anybody fly at 1,000 feet, right? How to teach somebody to fly, get down low, contour flying. If you make a mistake 10 foot off the ground, you're going to see it, right? Mm-hmm. So contour flying, which is it's a nice level flight. Now, balloon flies in the sound wave anyway. I mean, the balloon is like this as it's flying. So your object is to keep that sound wave as flat as possible. So I bring them down on the ground and do contour flying with them.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, we're gonna back this up to the basics.
Yeah, I'm wanting
We're
that
gonna
too.
back this up to the basics. You get the. I want you to ballooning 101 for dummies. You get the balloon out of the trailer.
Yeah.
Walk me through
Unfolding it and everything.
unfolding, getting it inflated, and then how do you fly these things? You're talking. I mean, when I first started working here, found out you were the balloon guy. First thing I asked you was, how do you steer this thing?
Well, the simple answer is hot air, and I have a lot of that. But
Well, we have a lot of this podcast too. It's a little bit different today.
I see you guys every day. It's a lot of hot air.
But yeah, you pull it out of the trailer.
So you pull it out and you hook your basket up, right? Hook the envelope up to the basket. Pull the balloon out. Inflate it with fans we have. Co-pack it, and then add hot air. You get it in the basket, turn everything on, and stand it up. You actually become the pilot when the fan is started. You're the PIC with the fan. It's just like if you haul a clear prop on your plane. You're the PIC at the moment. It's clear prop, right? And we do the same thing as we start a fan. We're the PIC. Anything goes wrong, we're accountable, right? So once you get the balloons stood up and you find your equilibrium, meaning what temperature you are, but without flying, with your whatever load you're carrying, if yourself or passengers, that's your equilibrium. Then you just heat your balloon up to take off. And I do have a instrument panel, altimeter and rate of climb and descent. Then a instrument that tells me how hot it is in the top of the balloon. I can't exceed 250 degrees in the very top for a matter of time. Not that it's going to melt and fall. It's just going to start deteriorating the coating of the balloon.
Mm-hmm.
To 250 degrees at the top will start to hurt it.
Right. The latest balloon is made out of polyester, and it has a polyurethane coating on the inside that holds the hot air. Right, and you can get about 1,000 hours out of this envelope until you got to replace it.
What part are you replacing?
The whole envelope at that point.
Ooh.
Can you what is the envelope? The balloon?
The balloon.
So basically you get 1,000 hours out of this balloon and then you're
Out
done.
of the fabric part of the balloon, right.
Okay.
What's the fuel?
Fuel is propane.
Propane? How many gallons are you taking with you on a? I mean, I know it probably fluctuates based on the balloon, but
On the big balloon, 50 gallons. Right, on my little ride, my racer, 30 gallons. And if I take 30 gallons in the racer or 50 gallons in the ride balloon, it's good for an hour. After an hour in the balloon, standing up, you're ready to land anyway. Mm-hmm. Right? So, and as you're flying, you're constantly looking for a landing spot ahead of yourself. So you're going to be thinking ahead. It's not like a plane when you turn around and come back to the airport. It's not going to happen for you.
you don't have that kind of control.
So you're wanting to look for a place to land around 40 minutes of flying.
Oh, I just look at places that land as soon as I take off because you never know when something may happen.
Well, I'm just saying if you run out of propane.
I'm not going to run out of propane. If I run out of propane, I shouldn't be flying the balloon, right?
Correct.
But it's been cases where you're flying and you may pass up an area you should have landed in. Let's fly a little longer, and you get caught out over trees and all, and you're wishing maybe I would hit that first spot. So you got to be also, when I say think ahead of yourself, think what's ahead of you, that I can clear where I can get to a nice landing spot. Back in the day when I first started, it wasn't all these apps and Google Maps and all that moving where you see ahead of yourself. It's all flying by the seat of your pants, pretty much.
Yeah, you were on satellite image while you were up there. You were making your.
And we had radio communication with our ground crew, and most time that would go out because radio was cheaper back then and when it was well made. And now we got apps and Life 360, so my crew can just follow me where I'm at, and they can be there to pick me up. So there's no turnaround and coming back. Then it was a question about navigation. So you only go as fast as the wind blowing, right? If it stops, you stop. If it's 20 miles per hour, you're 20 miles per hour. But I used altitude to navigate, meaning at different altitudes, the wind blows in different directions.
You told me about that one time.
So they got apps now that shows you that, right? And we look at the apps, but
Winds aloft.
winds aloft. So back in the old day, we set up what we call pie balls with nothing but latex helium balloons, and we tracked them with a compass and see what they did. We still do that because apps are not 100%
Not
all
perfect,
the time.
yeah.
But we still, you see me before I fly, I set up a latex balloon, helium balloon, and I watch it and I track with the compass, and it gives me some idea what the weather's doing, what the wind is doing.
So you're watching it as it goes through different altitudes,
different
and you're like, all
altitudes.
right, we're northeast, and then it's more north.
Yeah,
and-
but you also told me one time that you count seconds for when it starts changing direction because every so many seconds with a balloon is how many feet.
And that depends on the diameter of the balloon.
Correct.
Of course, the bigger the balloon, the faster it goes. So when we fly, I have some idea where I'm going, and I try to pick a takeoff spot where they put me in the middle of where I want to go, right? So I know when I say middle, let's say the surface wind's at 30 degrees, and higher altitude at 3,000 foot, now it's 100 degrees. So I have a wedge to fly in. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put myself from the target I want to hit, probably around in about 80 degrees from the target, right?
Yeah.
So that gives me, if I want to get a left, I can come down on the ground and get a left. If I want to get a right, I can go up to 3,000 feet and get that right. So when I fly to a target, if I'm racing or going to a landing spot, I fly kind of like a corkscrew. So I'm flying this right. I'm always coming down checking the surface wind, make sure it's there, and the upper level winds is still there. So I'm doing this. The problem is, as you fly, the winds aloft comes down. So if you got a 30-degree wind when you take off, you may not have that hour later in the flight. Mm-hmm. Now you maybe have a 50-degree wind. So that's when I come down and I fly. Maybe I fly to the left of the target more than I would to the right. I always can go up and hook myself into it. And that's what we do. I come into a target, and I may be a little off. I know there's a left on the ground. Right before I get to the target, I go up and catch that right and come down and get that left and do the target.
Wow.
So it takes a lot of, when I say planning ahead, it takes a little bit of that.
How on a typical average day, you were talking about 30 degrees versus 100 degrees as far as the wind difference. What would you say how big is that wedge on the average day? Is it about 70 degrees or?
Yeah, about 70.
70.
Some days absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You're going the way
you're going that
that's
way.
It. That's it, right? Now, there's been times here in Greenwood I've taken off and headed north on the ground and go up 800, 900 foot and come back over town, 1,000 foot, come back over town when I come back in the city, right? And now I go from going north to south. Then when I land, I got to plan on that being a box kind of when I land. So I'm overshoot my landing spot and come back in the other direction.
So let's talk about landing.
Hold on tight. Bend your knees. Bend knees. Hold on tight. Don't get out of the balloon until I tell you, right? That's why
I feel like we just got the speech to this passenger.
Yeah.
That seemed
Keep all hands and feet inside the vehicle.
That seemed well rehearsed.
I have in the basket I has a door on it, and I tell them, don't exit. This is my exit row. I'm sitting on the exit row.
Yeah.
So how fast are you I mean, let's walk us through the perfect landing, and then we'll talk about maybe some of the other ones.
Yeah, the perfect landing is when I come down nice and easy, right? And do a stand-up landing. Meaning the stand-up landing, man, I got 3 or 4 knots on the ground, so I touch the ground and the balloon stays up. Balloon stays up. Stand-up landing. You know, at my age, I always wanted to stand up landing. Now, back in my 20s,
You didn't
the
care.
higher wind landing when the balloon laid over and we drove. Oh, that was fun, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, okay, you say stand-up landing. How fast are you deflating the balloon
Now,
after you hit the ground?
Usually I don't deflate until my crew gets there.
Really?
Right. Then,
So is staying there even with, you said even a 2-3 knot wind is not.
yeah, I'm probably standing there at 7. Right.
Wow.
Now, I like to wait for my crew when I have some help pulling it over, and
Yeah.
sometimes it may need to be moved out of the field over to little bit out of turn row or something.
So I guess the higher wind landing, you're laying it over. It's not going to be able to stand up.
No, if I'm 10 knots or more, I'm going to try to go ahead and land it over. The difference in the balloons, my newer balloon has a smart vent and also a parachute. The parachute comes down just like a parachute, comes down and lets out a little hot air and it vents. The smart vent collapses the parachute into itself. So it opens up the hole in the balloon, opens up the, 20-foot hole and diameter hole in the very top of the balloon when I do the smart vent. Then I got another vent line I can pull to close it up. And the good part of that, if I'm coming in real fast and I need to stop, I can pull my smart vent and I can stop the balloon, in no time. I'm pretty much hit the road and stay there.
Wow.
Now I'm probably going to deflate my balloon, but I'm not going to drag. Mm-hmm. And I use that if I'm flying elderly passengers.
Yeah, like yourself.
So I use that smart vent every landing for myself.
I shouldn't have said that.
No,
We don't attack mode.
We joke with each other here. Riggs was going to say it, but I said it for him.
If anybody
No, I'm going to say it
listening,
myself. So come on.
it looks a lot like Dave Ramsey.
Oh, man. If you haven't watched our video podcast yet, this is the episode you need to go to because this guy looks like he's about to tell you that you need to get rid of all your credit cards.
Yeah. Or,
And buy balloons.
No buy balloons.
Dave Ramsey in the flesh.
so how many are you training right now?
4.
How many have you trained
Over the years?
over the years?
9. So.
Really? Wow.
Or I had a hand in it.
What's the hours like? It's very similar to the airplane?
Not as much, right?
Really?
You go probably take a check ride at 40 hours. I don't think you fly a balloon at 40 hours. I don't think you fly an aircraft 40 hours. Right? I don't think you really fly the balloon until 100 hours, 150 hours. I do think maybe that needs to be raised,
Yeah.
but that's not my call.
Well, I mean, like mine, I at 40 hours, I probably had checked all the boxes, but I ended up doing my check ride at like 63
Right.
or something. So I get that.
So you don't have to have that much for a balloon. But man, I try to get as many hours a student can get, before the end. I want them flying a balloon instead of just meeting requirements.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, and I guess all aircrafts are this way, really everything. But regardless of the training, that weather, especially being in such a weather-dependent vehicle as a hot air balloon, if that weather changes, you're at the mercy of your abilities. And I mean, you've seen balloon races, and I think you may even been at this one. This high-hour experienced pilot ended up in a cell tower.
That was that was in Albuquerque this year.
Yeah.
In the radio tower, and I had just flown past that radio tower right before the guy hit it. And there's no reason to hit it because there's 2 of them standing. Well, it's only 1 now, but.
I remember when that happened. I text Mike. I was like, you didn't hit the tower, did you?
That was me. I've flown over the tower, and you look at it, and the briefings to say, "Hey guys, we found out we don't hit the towers," and there's always some guy out there that said, "Hell, I'm gonna hit the target. I'm gonna hit the tower." So, come on,
bullseye.
Hit it.
I'm glad you mentioned Albuquerque because we need to get into where all the ballooning has taken you. You want to mention Albuquerque first. I think that's a really neat event. How long you spent out there and what you do there.
How many balloons?
Oh, it was 700 balloons this past year.
My gosh.
Right, and working for Wade and Powell allowed me to go out there and fly for a week, and it was amazing experience. And I fly for a group called the Rainbow Riders, which is the biggest hot air balloon ride company in the United States. So, real good group of guys, and they fly me out there and put me up and give me a balloon to fly. So, yeah, I enjoy Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm. And then just like, I mean, I feel like every couple of weekends a month at least during the good months, you're at some balloon event or you're doing an event. So tell us what are some of the higher end events, and what are some of the stuff that you as maybe Delta Breeze are hosting?
You know what? The one I host is Thunder on Water. That's all I have a few friends up, and we fly on Thunder Water in Grenada. But probably the most interesting and fun event I went to was in Hayat, Thailand.
Whoa,
Man, I flew a special shaped balloon there. It was shaped like a robber. It was a balloon with the arms and legs and the face and a black and white striped shirt on and a mask. And my friend flew the cop. So at the event in Thailand, I would take off and fly, and then
here you go.
the cop would come in behind me. But that was a neat event because
When was that? How long ago?
6 years ago this week.
Man.
Yeah.
So it's taking you all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over the world,
Other countries?
other countries, and that was a cool event because there was a interpreter with me the whole time because I couldn't speak Thai.
Yeah.
Then we had a driver for the balloon and chase crew. They gave me 10 people to help me with the balloon.
Wow.
And then they gave me a driver in the van for me to ride in after I landed. Well, that's no fun. I didn't ride in that van. I rode in back of the truck with the helpers. You know, that's what you do. But over there, you take off and you see the ocean behind you and all vegetation. So you're hoping maybe I find a hole in this vegetation to land somewhere.
A pretty good sized one.
And they warned me, said, don't, in ballooning, sometimes we would maybe brush into tops of trees to slow us down before we land.
Yeah.
And I do that quite often, right? But they said in Thailand, don't hit the trees. Don't hit the trees. And the guy at the pilot briefing, don't hit the trees. Well, I hit the trees. What the hell? I need to stop. Well, when I hit the trees, all these big black ants, they look like they was 2 inches.
They were telling you for a reason.
They was huge. They dropped off in the basket with me, right? I said, man, I'm getting eaten alive. But I went ahead, found a spot to lay down and deflate the balloon rapidly to get out of there. So I learned to listen.
You thought they were just trying to preserve their forests.
Yeah, I thought
Trying to save your life.
I was eating alive in the balloon, but
Any more overseas trips planned down in the future?
no, I turned down an event this year over into Mexico, right, during the Thanksgiving holidays. But I'm going back to Albuquerque, and
Yeah.
I didn't need to take the time off to do.
You've made that a yearly thing, haven't you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Those pictures you send from there are crazy.
It is.
Didn't you say we were going with you to help with the balloon?
You can.
I thought I heard that.
I'm pretty sure.
Come on.
I'm not riding though. No.
Riggs, tell us about your hot air balloon
Oh,
experience.
I did go.
no,
I
that
did
was-
see 2 hot air balloons this week though.
Oh yeah.
One had I don't know, ears coming off of it or something
Where?
in Indiana.
Okay.
Yes, no, tell us about
We
the
didn't
tell us
see
about
that one
the
Yeah, well-
tell us about the helium balloon ride.
I did ride at Conner Prairie in Indiana. They have a helium balloon. You may know. I'm sure you asked questions when you went up there about it because
I'm sure Mike asked questions they had never heard before.
He knows
saw
what-
pictures of you holding on in that balloon.
dear
it
life.
did. Yeah,
And your knuckles was white. So
Hey,
can you
you
talk
know what?
about that part of it?
Let's put that picture right here, Riggs.
Yeah.
Riggs was a little nervous.
it, just not used to it.
It was tethered.
It don't matter.
Big cable. You weren't going anywhere.
I don't know. I didn't. I wasn't. I mean, I liked it. I'll go
I
do it
think you ought to
again.
get up with Mike.
No, how high do you go?
I've seen him one time, buddy. I was over Greenwood. I was running errands or something. It was Saturday morning, and I look up, and it was a speck in the sky. He was way up there.
How high have you been before?
10,000.
Oh,
That's way up there.
Start getting over 10,000, start getting hypoxia.
All right, so that was my next. That was one of my questions. You run off of hot air, so when you're up that high and it's that cold, is that air not freezing more or getting colder quicker?
It's not that much difference. I mean, what's the rate of the temperature changing at altitude? I can't really remember.
I
but
can't either.
It's not that much. The normal flight's treetop to a couple thousand feet, right? If it's a little temperature change, maybe 10 degrees, but it's not.
Really? So it's not that much.
Not substantial. Yeah,
Or when you ride on an airplane, you see.
that's a little higher
That's
than 10,000
30.
feet.
Yeah, that's 30,000 feet.
I know you felt like you were at 10,000 feet the other day when you were 60 feet off the ground, Riggs, but that's a little bit of.
We were 375.
Were you really?
I saw the helium balloon went
It's
375.
higher than I thought it would. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Well,
That's
So-
interesting.
hey, tell me about a balloon race. How does a
Yeah.
balloon race work?
Well, race is misleading, right? It's not a speed event; it's an accuracy event. So they put out targets downwind, and they may be targets following targets. I mean, here's target number one, then a mile past that one is another target, a mile past that one another target, right? So, and then they say you take off 3 miles from the first target. So you go out and find, just like I was talking.
So
a
you
while
get to
ago.
pick your starting point.
Right.
Oh,
And most
okay.
of you pick,
I got you.
and you look at the direction of the wind and where you need to be to take off for the good direction to hit that first target, right? So that's when you start to think, well, I need to fly in the center of my wedge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times you're a little off because when you go out trying to find a takeoff spot, you may not have a takeoff spot in that area. So you just got to work it. And
Wing it.
You got to wing. You got to wing. You got to wing it. And so then you fly to the next target, using nothing but the wind to navigate yourself.
Are you collecting something at these targets, or is there a team on the
Oh,
ground
they-
that are scoring you, or how does that work?
So there's an X on the ground, and you have a beanbag with a streamer on it. So it's like the old bombardier days, where the old bombardiers come in and drop things on the target. It's the same deal. You come in, you get down low, and you drop your beanbag, and the one closest to the center of the X gets the most points.
That's pretty neat. How low? I mean, of course, you ever just not? You're nowhere near your target. And you're like, I'm just going to wing it. You throw it from a couple of 100 feet. Try to get close.
You got a scoring area, and a lot of scoring areas are 300 foot, right? The outside 300 foot don't throw you back.
You might have a cannon on board. You never know.
You might. Yes, that's why I'm winding it up a lot. You see me winding it up, that means I'm too far from the target.
We're on a wing and a prayer here.
I've seen it done back in the Balloon Fest days. I used to love that thing. And the night,
Oh, in Greenwood.
Yeah.
I came to that when I was
Yeah.
little.
yeah, and the night, the light up.
When I was little, I was flying in it. So come on.
I probably saw you.
Yeah.
It's probably
He had hair then.
Oh, I wouldn't recognize you.
What was the last year that we had that?
Man, I don't know. That was a while back.
I mean, it's been 15
Yeah.
years or more.
Was it always at the high school? At the lot?
It was always in that same spot.
Yeah.
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 I just remember we used to drive over here and I was amazed.
Let's bring it back, Mike.
I like to bring it back.
I know it takes a lot.
Now, Father Day weekend, I would have 8 balloons flying across Greenwood in the morning, that Saturday morning and Sunday morning.
Hey, yeah, so what time do you go off in the mornings, typically?
Right at sunrise.
Sunrise. So the listeners, the local listeners around Greenwood, you step outside, and if you're living in North Greenwood, you probably glance over to your west, and they'll probably catch you.
I usually take off right here by the car wash by Walmart.
Yeah.
Or in the soccer field.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen you a few mornings, but yeah, then I watch your, you go, typically you'll go Facebook Live or post pictures of it, and it's pretty views up there.
Yes,
Silent travel.
Early morning, then 2 hours before sunset. That'll fly.
Didn't they use hot air balloons for mail back in the day? Is that what that was designed for?
Off the wall over here.
Come on. No. To answer your question, no. I think
If they
that's-
did, it had to be much smaller.
That's
And
why
they'd
you
probably just let it float.
No,
That's
I'm
where you
talking
get
about like
you getting the term airmail. That's where you're trying to come from.
We have planes now.
Riggs,
I
I think,
really
you,
wanna
I think
fact
you
check
watch
me.
too many cartoons.
I really want to fact check me.
Now, no, they didn't. Now, the only thing they used the balloon as a spy tool back earlier.
3 years ago.
China.
Early, they would let balloons up, and they would spy on the other team or other people they're fighting. Right,
Still happening today.
still happening today.
Man. All right,
Well-
so talk about your business.
Delta Breeze.
You mentioned how many balloons you have. What if somebody they got a birthday party coming up, and they want you to come in and tell them what the different services you do, and kind of what all y'all can offer.
But I do tetherize, and tetherize would come in a birthday party event, and I set the balloon up, and we tie it off to the ground, and we do rides up and down, usually at 30, 40 foot, right? And I can fly 2-3 hours, and I average 100 people an hour.
Oh, wow, so you can roll through some folks.
He's going up and coming.
Go
right
up, go down, yeah.
Then a normal flight that I offer, just a regular flight, I can carry up to 4 people in my basket, right? And even offer, you getting married in a balloon. So when I got ordained as a minister.
Welcome to Las
Here we
Vegas.
go. Here we go. If you do it in Vegas, you do it in Greenwood, right? So last year around this time, I was in Foley, Alabama, and I was at the pilot briefing, and the lady walks up and said, "Hey, I got this couple wants to get married in a balloon," and the couple and the preacher, right? I said, "Okay, no problem. I'll fly them." Got the time to take off, and the couple says, "I got a problem. The preacher didn't show up." I said, "No problem. That's no problem. I can do it," right? At the spur of the moment, I'm in the air. They're going live on Facebook Live.
Oh.
Right? I got a person marrying these 2 people, and I don't remember what to say. I was just making up words and making up sentences as we're flying and trying to fly the balloon.
So we're not sure if they're actually married?
They're married. They're married. But it was kind of, but I do have I say that in a couple of weeks, I do have a marriage we're going to do in Greenwood.
But you've rehearsed since then. You got it.
I wrote it down, right? So, and I'm taking another pilot that can fly while I do the ceremony.
Oh, there you go.
Where I won't have to do everything all myself.
That's a lot going on up there.
Get somebody to flip it too. So, yeah, we have a group in the basket, but it should be interesting.
Do you sing to them too? No, just,
Well, no, they would get out.
doesn't matter how high you are.
Have you ever been asked to do a gender reveal? Like, throw pink or blue out of the hot air balloon from up high?
No.
But that's a
That
good
is
thing
a
to
good
add.
one,
Yeah. All right. If somebody wants to contact you for an event,
Easy. I got a website, Delta Breeze Hot Air Balloon Promotions, and a Facebook page, Delta Breeze Hot Air Balloon. Of course, my own personal Facebook, Mike Hanson.
that's good stuff.
Or just call me up.
Or just holler.
Just holler.
Call your local aid incorporated.
So, do you know how many balloons are in the United States registered and actively flying?
No, it's more than what you think, right?
Yeah.
I think I have a grasp on it sometimes, and I don't. I start looking at people all over the world.
What about in Mississippi? I'm sure you know.
Yeah, like
everything.
what's the next pilot past you?
Further off,
No, like
location wise.
is there one in Columbus, and that's the
Tupelo.
nearest one? Tupelo?
Tupelo and Meridian,
Okay.
right? Greenwood used to have 10 pilots one time. Now it's just me. Now the problem is, it's a decline in sport because it costs so much to get into it, and everything's going up. The balloon I quote you for that I spent $60,000 for now new is the whole thing is $80, and that's 2 years ago. So they went up on costs, and it just everything's
Tougher to get into now.
It's tougher to get into.
Can you
It's a big
name-
investment.
Yep.
It is.
Hobby.
Yeah, you got to love it,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
with
yeah,
It's a
anything.
lifestyle.
Is there you can't, you can make money, but
I make money, but I charge for rides and tethers and all just to pay for my habit.
yeah.
You know, you're not going to get rich. They say the way to make $1 million in hot air balloon is to spend $2 million.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. We do rides and tethers just to support our ballooning.
Yeah,
All right, your fleet of balloons you currently have.
I was about to say, give us the names of all of them.
All of them.
Well, you said you have 6, right?
Well, I still got Delta Breeze. So Delta
Yeah.
Breeze and Delta Bell, King Louis, Little Eddie, BB King, and Miss Lou. Miss Lou is the balloon that we're not going to get into how I got it, but let's just say I got it from an auction that the guy went to jail. Anyway, I won it from a police auction. So top of the balloon is Mardi Gras colors, and top of the other balloon has a fleur-de-lis in the very top.
Yeah.
So I named it Miss Lou, Mississippi and Louisiana.
Yeah.
So it's Miss Lou.
That's
yeah.
neat.
And the BB King's a bumblebee. Got a bumblebee
King,
look.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that one.
And BB is, kind of after BB King.
Is there how many different sizes do you have?
From 60 to a 120. So the 60, 70, 77, 88, 105.
So they're all different.
I got one other one. 120 and 140.
140.
Yeah,
Wow.
140. That's Delta 1. I forget about that one.
Do you not fly it much?
That's the one that got stolen when I got back.
There's a story behind that.
There's a
story.
lot. He's got a lot of stories.
A lot of
If you want to hear about these stories, you got to book a ride.
Yeah, you got to look around. That's part of the flight. Yeah. You pay extra for the stories.
Do you want to talk about what you've said, that the bumping into each other?
Oh, and balloons kiss, right?
Yeah.
You don't talk about it. It's frowned upon.
Okay, I figured it was, so we
wow.
can cut that if we.
Sometimes when we,
It's by accident.
it's not, is it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Trying to cover you
When
here.
we
The
put
one
out-
that kissed the tower was accident.
that was accident.
That was a target.
When you
That
come
was a
in
target.
during balloon races, coming into targets, there's a whole bunch of balloons coming in at one time,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to the target, and we coming down to the deck, right? We're maybe a couple feet off the ground when you come to the target, and we're all trying to get that right wind. And the other balloons, and you can't back up and wait for the other guy to get to the target. So you coming in at the same time other balloons are. So all the balloons may be touching each other. We call kissing or bumping into each other. Sometimes you get kind of like you're playing pool, right? One ball hit the other ball, and the other kind of bounces.
Kind of
off
bounce
it.
around, yeah.
Yeah.
Having a bigger balloon, you can kind of overpower the little. The little balloons, and we just kind of bump around. Sometimes it works in your favor. You may get bumped closer to the target, or you may get bumped off of it, right? But envelope to envelope, fabric to fabric's no big deal. When you get the basket into the fabric of the balloon, that's when you may
Rip.
get
That's an
ripped.
issue,
Right,
yeah.
that's the issue.
How many can you take up in your biggest basket?
And the biggest one in the 140, maybe plus 6.
So 7 total.
Hey, so
Well-
Thunder on Water is coming up.
Thunder on water.
Is it the first weekend in June? That's when it used to be. I don't know if it's
First weekend, Father's Day weekend, right?
so. People, you're gonna be there.
I'm gonna be there. I got 7 of my friends gonna be there with their balloons.
What nights will y'all be there? The Friday night, the big night?
Friday night and Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Friday and Saturday night, and down at the bottom of the levee, right there by the spillway, we would offer tether rides. Then they glow at night.
And they're gonna be glowing at night. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Can you go up at night? Night flight?
We do early morning flights, right? We call it dome patrol. Really, the problem with the balloon, you're not going to turn around and come back to the airport. So you land in just open
Darkness.
You want
darkness.
to land with light, but you
Right.
could go up early.
Now we taken off at dark
Okay.
before daybreak,
Yeah,
and we got position lights. We hang from the basket to allow that to be legal,
I got you.
and we call it
So
dome.
it's legal.
Right, it's legal.
Okay.
As long as you got the lights on.
Yeah.
Right, and we do that and take off and watch the sun come up.
That's neat.
Well, I bet you confused some folks before when
Oh,
because
I
you burn
done
that
it.
balloon and they think they see something,
Oh,
then
yeah.
it goes off, and you're like, I know.
So I done
There's something up there.
So I done that in Greenwood. So I did it in Greenwood. The first flight and the last flight my mother ever made with me. She wanted to fly in a balloon, so I said, we're going to take off early morning before the sun comes up, where she can see the sunrise, right? So I took off from Greenwood High School. I'm flying right over town. I got the lights on, and when I hit my burner, people are seeing it and think the balloon is exploding or it's on fire.
Oh, yeah,
man.
yeah.
So they call the fire department, call the police, and I hear all the fire trucks and police coming up under me as I fly.
It's kind of ruining that beautiful, quiet morning.
It's got to mess up the whole thing, right? But once I realized I was okay, everything was good. But that morning I flew for 45 minutes and landed in Indianola.
You were trucking there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed this. It's been very informative, and I think I'm ready to go up now.
Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I think I'm ready. So we need to find a time.
What does 4 go?
After. We
That's
might can
all right.
make it
So
happen.
I found your Facebook page, Delta Breeze Balloons. It's a page on Facebook. Go like it. It's got your website on there. Of course, I'm sure if they message this, you'll get it.
Yep.
He's got his personal page, Mike Hanson. He'll go live every time he goes and fly, and you keep up with him, what he's doing. Just give him a call. Shoot him an email, a message, or whatnot. Or you can email us at onthetailgate@wadeinc.com if you want to go up in a hot air balloon, or if you want to hire him for a tether ride or whatever, and we'll put you in touch. But yeah, I'm so ignorant on all things balloons,
and I think a lot of people are.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad you're carrying it on, and you enjoy it so much. And I mean,
sure.
it's a sport or hobby, whatever you want to call it, that is people are not familiar with,
And it's
I
so
think
cool.
It is. It is. I mean, you see one in the air, and everybody's eyes just light up.
And that's the best thing. And I was interviewed this past weekend, and the news reporter lady said, "Hey, what's the best part of it?" And I had a bunch of people around me, and a bunch of kids. Right? I said, "Look at these people. Look at the smiles. This is what it's about."
Yeah,
So yeah.
That's awesome.
it's cool.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for your time.
Thank
We'll
y'all.
let you get back to your day job now for a little bit longer. And but yeah, we got to make the On the Tailgate balloon ride.
We
happen.
do. I think we do.
Make it happen.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, good talk, and
All right, guys. Thank you.
we'll catch you next time on the Tailgate.